What's good, y'all? Welcome to Outside the Clutch. Tonight's episode 58. It's gonna be a crazy one. I literally just spilled Dr. Pepper all over my computer. This is awesome. Tonight we have Brian. I'm gonna jack this name up so bad. I'm so sorry. Brian and Kathy Farrelly. I think I said that right. Farrelly. We're gonna figure it out. They're laughing in the background, so I probably messed it up. Tonight we have Brian and Kathy from the Reptile Revival. I have really enjoyed everything that they are doing on their YouTube channel. We're going to talk about their YouTube channel, what's kind of inspired them, along with the time that I had with Brian at Arlington. We really had a good amount of time where we talked about all things in life. And if you guys have watched this podcast before, you know that's kind of what this is about, is getting to know the people behind the brand and making those connections that we don't always get in the reptile industry. Like, yes, it's great to walk up to someone, kind of become friends with them by buying a snake, but it's even better to get to know and create that connection and like make your lifelong friends that way, which hopefully a lot of the people that come on would consider me that. I try to stay in touch with everybody best I can. I know it's kind of crazy in our lives. I've had a crazy day with running a local show today. But we're gonna jump into this here in a second and say hi to the people that are coming in. Lance, my dude, glad to see you. Glad to see you back over on this channel. I know you pop in every now and then. It's always great to see you. Justin Campbell, I'm sure more people are gonna pop in. Hey, when you're popping in, make sure you say hi. Arvin, what's good, dude? Can't wait for Arlington again and to get to see you. As people pop in, I'll be bringing up comments, saying hi, doing all that good stuff. We're gonna kind of get into this because I already took extra time from them. We're running a little behind, like I said. Frazzled day. Gonna try to keep the energy. Gonna try to give you the best show possible. So let's kind of get into it. We want to take the best care that we can of our animals. You know, I'm a huge advocate over husbandry, doing it right. You have to have the right tools to do the best job. Here at Outside the Clutch, we're honored to be sponsored by VivTech. Are you ready for innovation? Tired of the same boring product that's been used for 30 years? Ready to give your reptiles and amphibians the UV they really deserve? Then look no farther than VivTech. Their 3-watt LED bulbs provide the UV rays your animals have been missing. With 3 bulbs to fit your pet's climate needs, plus a dimmable feature, it's the only bulbs we use for UV. And it's the only bulb with a 2-year warranty in the industry. Plus now you can monitor all your pet's husbandry from your phone 24/7 with their sensors, and even ship your customers' animals in their custom bags. So what are you waiting for? Go to VivTechProducts.com today, use code FCLUTCH0322 for 15% off, and provide your animals the best care they've ever had. And you know what pairs really good with VivTech products? The right type of coconut substrate.
Are you ready for the best coconut substrate in the game? Then you gotta get ReptiChip. First off, it's America's chip because it's veteran owned. Secondly, why wouldn't you want the best cocoa chip for your animals? Go to ReptiChip.com, use code FEELYCHIPPIN for 10% off up to 3 breeder blocks, or your entire order of Easy Hatch trays or any Redline Science equipment on the site. Limit 1 coupon per customer. Or reach out to me as a representative in the El Paso area, and don't forget to join the Reptilution, where all profits go to helping those in need within the reptile community.
And finally, Show Me Snake Shows. That's where I was today. That's where you should have been today. We're having a great time. We actually had our biggest show to date in El Paso, and it's only the first day. Tomorrow's going to be even better. Cannot wait. If you haven't checked out one of these shows that Mickey's holding right now, make sure you do yourself a favor. Get a little traveling in. Hey, if there's a local show, check out that local show. Check out a Show Me Snake show. They're great times. I really enjoy them. I think you will too. All right. Without further ado, I'm gonna jump into this. I'm acting like a kid on like crack. I had a lot of sugar. My parents like just let me get into the candy jar. I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna bring on Brian and Kathy, and we're gonna have a good time. All right. So let's give it up for Brian and Kathy of the Reptile Revival.
What is up?
Hey guys.
Did you just say a kid on crack?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's too funny.
I actually did that for a reason, because we're gonna kind of talk about your background and what you guys do for a living, if you're okay with that.
Okay. Yeah, sounds great. But seriously, man, we are so excited to be on this podcast with you. I'm a huge fan, listened to tons of the podcasts. I don't think I've heard them all yet, but a few of my favorites have been Brian Gundy, Earl Jones, Garrett Hartle. Those are some of my favorites.
Okay, I appreciate that, man. It's a love-hate thing, to be honest. Like, I love to do it, but I hate how much my mind wraps around it and how I can't like articulate what I want to actually say to people. You ever have those brain dump moments and you're just like, this is what I really wanted to say and it just didn't come out right?
Yeah,
And
every
as
time
soon
I
as you're
turn on the
done,
camera. Yeah, when we turn on the camera, that happens. So
yeah.
I had someone tell me once they had like a 6-lane highway in their brain and they knew what they wanted to say, and then it was like a 1-lane dirt road when it came out, and so they were like, it just gets stuck sometimes.
It's not even on the dirt road. Like they haven't touched this at all. I'm trekking a new path.
New territory.
but I want to say what's up to Lance. Thank you for stopping in for this, Lance.
Yeah.
We love you and appreciate your support on what we're doing, man. Another
Lance is
Northwester.
I freaking love that dude.
Yeah.
So let's jump into it. Before you guys came together, what kind of gave each of you your individual personalities? Because so if you look at Brian, he's very serious until you get that like award-winning smile to come out. And then Kathy, you're very bubbly. How did these characters come to be?
That's a good way of putting it. Actually, I had been around. Let me back up. I met Kathy when I was probably 22 years old, 23 years old, and it was a season in my life where I'd been hanging out with my high school type buddies. We had been now in the like college thing. We were living in a house together, and I had like that full thing going on, and that was never my like scene. I just was like friends with them, enjoyed having fun, but wasn't like the like big time party, let's go to the clubs type of guy. So I got really tired of that, and I was like, I got to get away from this. So I moved out, and I went into a martial arts gym, and I was like, I'm just going to get my life straight, focus on this, find something to do that's like healthy. And anyway, so that's where I met Kathy. And I knew right away that she was like totally different from all the other chicks that I was surrounded by at that time. They were just very superficial, and you could tell there was nothing to the like friendship or relationship. And so as soon as we met, I don't know, we hit it off. We started working together right away, and we've actually worked together almost the entire time we've been married, which is
17 years.
17 years.
You need to know this.
Yeah.
No, we used to clean swimming pools together like at 4 a.m. We'd clean swimming pools together in Phoenix at 4 a.m. We taught kids computer classes, like technology classes. We did all kinds of stuff. We worked for a lot of different companies, and we usually did it together. And so it was strange to work kind of in corporate America for a while after we, hey, Duran, after we, decided it was time to grow up and get out of just playing with reptiles all the time. And so we joined corporate America, and it was strange to work separately. And of course, most people are like, oh, how do you work with your husband? Oh, I'd kill my husband. Or how do you guys stand each other all day? It's like, well, you didn't get married because you kind of liked each other. It was like, you're my best friend. I just want to hang out with you all the time, So that's what we do, and we do it really well together. And we're pretty much willing to just do whatever it takes. As crazy, hopefully that's not, jumping too much into the future, but just willing to do whatever it takes to be able to spend our lives together, not give the best part of our life to someone else for 40 hours a week.
Oh, I love that. That's one of the things you don't find very often. Like a lot of people will say they're in love, but they're not very much in like with each other most of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have to ask a quick question. Who made who tap first, since you met at a martial arts gym?
Yeah, I don't remember. There was probably like a lot of like love, taps going on.
I've been doing it for a while before he started, so I was a couple belts, I think, senior, but I'm a little senior to begin with, and I don't get to forget that very often. I'm almost 2 years older than him, so there's that. I hit my 40s first. It was very awkward.
But yeah, so I kind of sped through that. But yeah, we met in Phoenix. That's where we're from. Like born, we were both born in California. Moved around a bunch. Both had, parents that weren't together, that sort of thing. Kathy actually lost her dad early on in life, and so that we both had like childhood things happen to us that kind of led us on the path that we're on now, actually, where we can dive into that. But with our job now, we work with troubled teenagers and just at-risk youth.
So I want to ask this, and I'm going to use this as kind of a self-promotion and to promote my brother's event. Who would you like to do a grappling match with in the reptile industry? Because we are planning on having a grappling match, like a whole card. Yes, you got to love Retics for that.
You knew it was going to happen. They don't need to watch it.
Get the views.
With
Antoine Hood's match card approaching, if you were put on that card, who would you like to see yourself paired against?
Oh, Garrett.
Everyone's going after Garrett. Does he have a background in MMA at all?
I don't know. He's just a buddy, and I'd like to,
He's wrangled
it'd be fun.
Probably be interesting.
I don't want to hurt him. It would just be fun.
We'll come at you like.
How about you? Who are you after?
I'm not doing it. So what this all transpired from was 2 years ago, I made a joke photograph, right, of me and Antoine doing a matchup card.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And that led to us doing an event for US Arc. Well, now he's setting up I think we're looking at five matches, potentially more, but at least 5, right? So doing a full card.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna not only raise money for US Arc doing this, but also for Brian Barczyk's Legacy Aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
And so he asked me to kind of pull my inner Joe Rogan out, though I don't know that I could say I have an inner Joe Rogan. I'm very much monotone, and I don't have that type of energy. I got to get really hyped up. Like I have to force it out, like you saw kind of at the beginning of this. Like I have to push it out. But he asked me to commentate, and he's going to commentate, and we're going to find a referee that has an actual background in it, and then we're going to let people that actually know how to scrap. But it's all for charity. It's to raise money for both US Art and for Brian Barczyk's Legacy Aquarium. So, which is I think is both very, very great endeavors to be helping. But that's why I asked, because I feel like I thought it would be funny to kind of pair people that we knew didn't like each other just to see what would happen, but be like, hey, you're not allowed to hit each other. You're not allowed to like do any illegal moves. Just let your frustrations out. That way it doesn't come out at a show or something. You know what I mean?
I don't have any problems with anybody.
It's okay.
Not that I know of.
It's okay, bro.
I don't know.
All those people talking smack in the back. No,
I don't know.
Brian's
maybe
no drama.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of do my thing and stay out of the way.
Well, I appreciate it. I think more people should be that way. So you were talking about how you help youth and troubled teens. You both do that, and it affords you the opportunity to really do a lot of traveling. But what really pushed, like you said, you had some stuff as children, like you came from broken homes, but is that strictly what pushed you that way, or what kind of led you guys down that path, and then to choose to do it together? Because that's a potential for a lot of things, right? Like, so like I know myself being a medic, I couldn't just jump back into the medical field. Like now I feel like I could probably do it, but I don't know unless I was in it, or like people that have been through like military, which that's what I did in the military, was medical stuff, but or like cops or things like that, right? Like sometimes being re-exposed into that can create more of a negative than a positive, but you were able to turn it into a positive. What kind of
Yeah.
led you into doing that though?
Yeah. Well, I when I was a teenager, I ended up getting sent to like a behavioral boarding school, like a behavioral treatment center, and I went there for 2.5 years and saw a lot of things that like were good, saw a lot of things that were bad, understood, what goes on at those types of places, because that's a pretty like long period of time to be at a place like that. Um, and realized that I would love to, be part of helping kids like I was at some point in my life, but I was never going to go looking for it because I just knew that it, like, I don't know, I figured it would pop back up because I knew I wanted to move to the area we live now, which is like 15 miles from the school that I went to. And I knew that could possibly turn into work, but I still had a full-time like career and there was no real leaving that career. I just kind of had a feeling that it would happen. So, yeah. So one of my buddies came to me and said, "Hey, I'm transporting these teenagers from like their home or other facilities to these boarding schools. Would you have interest in doing that with me?" And this is somebody that I really respect a lot, and he's just an amazing man. And I was and I had Kathy and I had both just overnight lost our jobs. It's a long
Oh,
story,
wow.
but it was like just a very hard thing for our family. Not just like losing our job, but it was connected. The job itself was connected to family, and it was a big, ugly mess. So
Was
anyway,
that in like the corporate America time, or is that
yeah.
after
So
that?
we
Okay.
we were selling and working on and with software that helped colleges and universities with their accreditation and assessment management. And so it was a place for them to store all that information. It was totally outside of anything that Kathy and I knew anything about when we started it. Neither one of us went to college and had zero interest in that world. But this was a business that my father's an entrepreneur and had several businesses, and he said, "Hey, I know that you're hating your job." At the time I was working at Wells Fargo. He's like, "Would you like to come and do this thing?" And I'm like, yeah, like, do we have to work together? Because that's probably not good. He's like, "Nope." So for 10 years,
Him
and then
and his
short,
dad, not
yeah,
him and I,
yeah.
because we work well together.
Yeah, so shortly after that, Kathy started working with me, and for 10 years, I worked at that company without any involvement with senior. He's not really a senior, but my father. And just personal stuff happened, and it got in the way of business, and that one thing led to the other, and we were looking for a new job. So, yeah, that gentleman came to me and asked me if I wanted to be involved, and I said, obviously, this is the right time, so let's go do it. And so what we do is we transport kids, like I said, um, from all different backgrounds, all different situations at home. We have an opportunity to talk with them over about 12 hours and be like the first step in the chain of like uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Healing?
No, like, anyways, we're the
The
first people
support
in the
team.
chain.
First point of contact?
Yeah, first point of contact in like a string of different individuals that are going to be helping like organize and run their life, and because of the situation that I had been in as a kid, I knew that this particular job was something I had a lot of interest in because it went really bad a lot of times. A lot of people get into this job I don't know if this is stuff you want to hear. Like, am I going on about things that you?
I enjoy it. Like, if the viewers don't enjoy it, they can skip to the reptile stuff later.
Got it.
But I enjoy this stuff. Like I like to
Yeah.
get to know
So
people.
a lot of people get involved in this particular job for the wrong reasons. They just don't treat the kids very well, and it's not good. So I knew that was a place that would have a huge impact, because it sets the tone for what they're about to go into for the next, usually it's a year now, these days. And yeah, we've been doing that over a year now, and we've seen some amazing things, been part of amazing things, talked with kids that have graduated already, and it's a blessing to be part of.
Get to see the same kids again. And so
Yeah.
we've had several kids. Like, we also get to take them fun things, like when they're going on vacation, or if they just need a ride to the airport, a couple hours away, sort of thing. So it's neat to be able to go reconnect with kids that you maybe weren't their favorite person the first time you met, and they run up to you and give you a huge hug, and they're like, "You'd be so proud of me. I'm doing so well." And it's amazing to see the transformation.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of how all troubled youth is? I
Maybe.
remember coming back. I wasn't the greatest kid growing up. I'll admit that fully. I was very much so a troublemaker, but the people that um, kind of took me aside and were stern, but in a loving manner. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like the school cop. I very much so remember this. I got busted by the school cop in, I think it was 7th grade, with a half smoked prime time in my pocket.
Mhm.
And so I started smoking very young. But when I got on the bus driver snitched me out, and then the cop talked to me, and like I got in trouble, and I got kicked out of school for like a week because of it, and all this other stuff. And then when I got into high school, that same cop transferred to the high school, and I got in trouble for fighting all the time, and in trouble for this and that, right? And like, I was like, at the end of the day, I looked at him and I was like, Officer Moon, when are you just gonna freaking cut me a break? Like, just leave me alone, man. Like, you know who I am, you know the way I'm gonna be. Like, so once I finally became a productive member of society, I went back to him and I actually ran into him the year I was graduating. I got in a really bad car accident. I got T-boned by a drunk 16-year-old
Hmm.
that didn't have a license, stole his mom's vehicle, and was drinking. And there's a cop car right next to me that the only reason I stopped and I got T-boned instead of like being full on smashed where I was, like, so the car ended up hitting at my feet and like just shoving me into the center
Wow.
console because of where they impacted on my mom's car. The officer next to me was Officer Moon, and I didn't know it. And he was the first one to respond, and he called my mom for me because he already had her number because of all the stupid stuff that I had done, right? And he's
It's on
like,
speed dial.
hey, your son was just in an accident, he's okay, we need you to have someone and come pick him up. Like, he doesn't need an ambulance, but the car was totaled, we couldn't even move it, like there's no salvaging it.
Wow.
But so he was the first one there, and like I came back, I became a productive member in the community. I was just like, man, like, for all the times you caught me and you could have done like the world to me and like gotten me in so much trouble to where I probably wouldn't have been able to make anything out of myself. You always gave me that second chance or third chance, fourth chance, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
And just that positive reinforcement, even though he had to do something negative in the manner initially just to get it through my head. I think people take that for granted sometimes. They're like the tough love, essentially. Like I think
Yeah.
we've changed our mentality so much that sometimes tough love is viewed as something other than love
Yeah.
being sent. You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's boundaries.
Yeah.
Like a lot. There's a connection between kids like you and I were and the reptile hobby. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I have like a real soft spot in my heart for like all these young people I see, and like everybody in it, because we are all really similar in certain ways. And and I feel really, really great about being around that. Like we understand each other in a certain way that's pretty special, and we connect through the reptiles. And I don't know. I think it's great.
Absolutely. I love it. What was it like having that first kid complete the program? Like when you were able to go through and be like, "Hey, I know you didn't like me, but you freaking did it. Like you made it through."
Yeah.
That was that was amazing. The first one that we had that completed was one that really did not like us the day we met her. and uh, and if I'm trying to be careful just with specifics, but um, it was less than a pleasant trip to campus that first day. And then we got to see her a couple times later, being back on campus. And she came up and said hi and gave us a hug. And she was looking for Brian. And I said, oh, he's not here. I'm just here alone. And then the mom actually called and texted us when she flew from across the country into town for her graduation, and just reminded us that she hasn't stopped thinking about us. And she's so thankful for what we did to help their family out that first night, and just to get her on such a positive path to life. And a lot of these kids are like 16, 17. So by the time they're done, they're like grown-ups. It's time to adult, And so it's kind of nerve-wracking. We had one young lady that was right before her 18th birthday. And that was, like we were the last ones to be able to work with her like a week before she became a grown-up. And it was awesome to just be able to encourage them and just let them know that this is just a flash in their life. There's going to be a future beyond this, and what the next step can look like. So it's really cool to be able to encourage kids like that.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster. Like our life is a roller coaster, and by that I mean there's no predictability, in when we go, how often we go, what the situation is. But we are we fully trust in God and like his plan in our life, and we just take one step after the other and take it as it comes, and when we started doing this transport thing, and when we had lost our previous job, that's just 2 years ago now, we just decided, whatever is put in front of us, we're just go through that door, and so far our bills keep getting paid, and we get to homeschool our kids, we get to be with our animals, create content. Part of this, one of the benefits of the job is we travel all over the country, so we can take advantage of that sometimes in the short amount of time we're there, and do tours of places. Like you have our channel pulled up there. We were able to go.
I gotta catch up. I feel like a horrible friend.
What's that?
Said I gotta catch up. I feel like a horrible friend.
It's all good, man. We appreciate you. But yeah, like you can see on there, we were in Utah and Arizona and
Texas.
So yeah, we went to southern Idaho and Texas. Texas was intentional, but yeah, so we just make sure to meet with people when we can, and if we can film something cool. If not, then we have some time together. But not every if it's a female, Kathy and I will go pick her up. If it's a male,
you want that female chaperone as well, just to make sure there's not. Yeah.
Sometimes her and another woman will go, but it just depends on the situation. And then if it's a guy, then me and one of my buddies will go. So yeah, it's good.
So well, how much prep? Because we kind of talked about it, and you just mentioned it. You try to film everywhere you can, right? Like where your work travels take you, you try to make that time to maybe bring some reptile content into it, or something that you're doing into it, right? What kind of preparation does that take for someone that has to live a very scheduled life, I would assume, right? Because you have to make the planes, you have to meet the kids at specific times, I would assume. So
yeah. So that's the only scheduled part of our life, like we get a email that tells us, when we're leaving and where we're going, and there's dates and times on there. But in between that and after that, it's just what whatever we need to do at the time. But as far as preparation goes, I'll just, pretty much immediately when I hear where we're going, I'll know if there's something there, And so I just
start Googling.
yeah, yeah, right. Google. I just pack up light, I just pack up my camera and my microphone and some batteries and a charger. But yeah, it's pretty simple. It's a huge bonus when we get to do that. There was one video, can't remember which one it was, but it was just like so awesome that I was able to go to that one place while I was there. I don't know. The one in Boise was pretty cool.
Scales and Tails was amazing.
That was it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Scales and Tails in Utah. That was really awesome.
Yeah.
The Komodo. They have a Komodo, right?
No.
Used to?
Blackthroat.
Blackthroat.
Asian water monitors. We got a lot of anaconda stuff.
They
there.
kind of got some press for their female keeper getting her hand grabbed, and then a patron jumped in there and kept it from rolling. But they're awesome people and have a great facility. We really are excited to go back out there again. They're doing a really good job with their educational shows and stuff. That's something we want to get into as well.
Camps for the kids. That's something that we're obviously passionate about, is just raising up the next generation of reptile keepers and animal lovers. And it's something that they have a lot of kids camps and stuff, which is always so cool. If you can remember back to that time where, like, for me, it was someone brought in a corn snake in like my first or second grade classroom for show and tell. And I was just like, you can own these things. This was so cool. And I actually worked at a big box pet store when I was 16 for a couple years in the reptile industry, or the reptile department. So I always had a gecko or a lizard of some kind. We didn't have snakes at that one, but I got into the Uromastyx. I thought they were so cool.
And, oh yeah, when I met Kathy, she had a Uromastyx, so that was bonus points there.
And I had salamanders and frogs and just things like that. So
you got started really young.
Yeah.
When did you get started, Brian?
Oh man, like when I was really young, I was always out catching stuff. Like it started with that, and my mom eventually let me keep a frog. So I think the first one I remember keeping was a firebelly toad or something like that, and then I ended up catching stuff and putting other stuff in there, and it killed it. But yeah, mom would never let me have a snake. My parents were divorced, and dad had no interest in them. But
that was the line that Brian used when we were together. He was like, my mom never let me have a snake as a kid. Can I get one? I was like, he's like, it'll just be like a small little, like a little pink one. It was like this cute little corn snake. And I was like, okay, sure. Why not? And so we got one. And I think within like 3 years, we had over 120.
So that was in 2005. And that's when we started breeding corn snakes and boas.
It happens quick, people. They're like tattoos. They're addicting. You're like, if I like this one this much, what would I do with another one? And if you put 2 of them together, you can make like 30 of them. We've got to have more. Yeah.
Be responsible.
For how hard it is to breed for some people. It's funny how fast they multiply.
Yeah.
So who decided to take the leap into the bigger snakes? Was it because you said you started out with corn snakes?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to go from like colubrids or like smaller boas and things into what you guys have now shared your love with? Because mostly what we see from you now, I believe, is just retics, right?
Yeah, mostly.
So I'm not I think there's cool things about all snakes. And I think that there's cool things about colubrids, but I just really like having little baby corn snakes. I was like, oh, I'm going to break it. It was just like, so, fragile and dainty or whatever. And then we got our first red tail boa and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, you're not like, they're a little bit intimidating for me at first. And I was, you know, like a little standoffish, but I think I warmed up pretty quick to them. And Brian saw my weakness and preyed on it. And he was like, I think we need to get more. I was like, oh, okay. And we, you know, didn't have kids. So we had this giant room and lots of disposable income. And what else do? You know, we didn't go to concerts or like buy expensive stuff. So we just spent all of our money on reptiles, and yeah, the rest is history.
So to answer your question, we had boas back then, but what got us down that that journey was meeting somebody at a Petco who is taking pictures of like people with their pets. And he's like, I don't know how we got talking, but he was like, hey, I really need somebody to come and like intern with me and clean cages, and I'll give you snakes and I'll teach you all about it. And I was not going to let my answer be no. When I went to Kathy with that, I was like, so we're going to drive like an hour every Saturday, and we're going to go to this guy's house and clean snake cages. Okay. For like 3 hours. And that's where we got in. That's actually how we got into the corn snakes and boas. And he had retics at one point and told us all about them, told us he was like afraid of them and whatever. And I was like, that's interesting. And I just kind of like note to self. And so we ended up having just like a tragedy in our family, and ended up needing to sell like everything. So we sold all of our animals pretty much overnight, all of our caging. We had like really nice animals from Jeff Ronnie back then, and boa cages. And man, I wish I had that stuff still. But anyways, we sold all that, and had kids. And when the kids were at an age where I thought I could reintroduce the idea, I did. And I was like, hey, I'd really like to start like looking into reptiles again. So I jumped on YouTube, which reptiles were not something I really like talked about with Kathy or like looked into at all after that happened. It was kind of like, okay, that chapter's closed in my life. But I went to YouTube and realized that there's an entire world of people on YouTube that like show their animals, and like there's awesome stuff on there, because all that was around back then was like kingsnake.com. And like the only person I knew with snakes was that guy that we interned with. So it was kind of a lonely world, you know? So when you like turn on the TV and there's like unlimited content with snakes, I was blown away, man. And yeah, so I found Garrett, and I don't even know how I stumbled into Garrett, but I just like watched all of his videos and decided that was the project I wanted to jump into, and sold Kathy on it. And that's just kind of how it went.
And they were a pretty big part of, like, we didn't just have them before we had kids. Like, we went on our honeymoon to Costa Rica to go looking for snakes. We had this tiny little wedding, like 25 people, because we were like, okay, if we have a budget, we're going to go somewhere really cool and do really cool stuff and not spend a lot like on the dress and the tux. So we didn't.
I would never wear a tux.
No, we didn't do a tux. We didn't do.
Did you do like a tux shirt?
No, that's a little too redneck.
It was like a Tommy Bahama shirt, and I had white flip-flops on under my wedding gown, and we just did it super low key. And then we jumped on a plane for Costa Rica with our snake hooks in tow, and we went looking for snakes, and it was amazing. Yeah, and we went herping like around where we live, and so they were just a big part of our life before we even got married. They're in our wedding vows too. Yeah. I had the what's it called? Officiator? The guy who had us say the the vows. I had it written in that he'll never put the snakes before me. And he didn't know about it, of course, till we're at the altar or the gazebo, whatever it was. And it was a lot of fun. Got a few laughs. So yeah, so they were just always a big part of our life before that. And so by the time we got back into it a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, he was like, I think we're going to get snakes again. I was like, okay, cool. What kind? I'm like, I don't want to do corn snakes or red tails right away. Let's do something different. And he's like, well, I have a guy. Like he had already done some research, I think. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Before we got back into
Yeah.
it. And we wanted to like ease the boys into it. We've got 3 boys and we didn't want to, I don't know, they were still pretty young at the time. And so we got a ball python. And
Yeah, it started with a ball python and like quickly escalated to, pretty much what we have now.
they were like, we
But-
don't want to do anything, like nothing crazy, right? Just like something. We're like, yeah, no, we'll just get something. And so we got a ball python. And so like they were holding it and they were so excited. Like a week later, they were like, does it do anything else? We're like, nope, that's it. Like, that's what you got. So then we got a retic and they were like, cool, I like this. And, draping it over their shoulders and stuff. So they were pretty easy sells.
Yeah.
So did you guys focus, since you said you went through Garrett, you went through or focused on super dwarfs or dwarfs right off the bat, or?
Yeah. So I just knew that was the direction I wanted to go, was the dwarf and super dwarf stuff. Not really knowing exactly what that looked like. I'd watched all the videos, but like I hadn't physically seen like a pure Kalatoa versus a mainland, for example. Like I'd seen mainland retics, but you know what I mean? I hadn't been able to like in person compare. And so we dove in knowing what I had learned from Garrett. And like I've said in like another podcast that I did, I really recommend people just take it slow. Like thankfully we were able to like keep all of our animals and not have to sell them because we realized we were over our head. But like we have moved things around and that sort of thing. But we still own all of our animals. So I just knew that the dwarf and super dwarf stuff was interesting. There was plenty of color, pattern mutations, and it was a long game. I really liked that, and it was kind of it wasn't really mainstream yet, which I really liked too.
Once things go mainstream, Brian taps out.
Yeah.
He's like, this is
So you're
really
gonna
cool.
tap
No
out
one
super
thinks
dwarfs
so.
in like 2 years then.
Yeah.
Right, I know.
Then everyone's like, this is the coolest thing. He's like, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
How has bringing the snakes on kind of helped in like the homeschooling aspect, or like teaching your boys, hey, we homestead one not only to take care of us, but to take care of everything around us and everything we care for?
Yeah, so we have actually had like a mini homestead before. We used to have dairy goats, and we've had like larger pieces of property where we've had horses and goats and chickens and ducks and all kinds of stuff. And so the boys kind of grew up like going and getting eggs, and they just learning more of like a self-sufficiency, like you milk the goats and you can make cheese and butter and stuff like that with it. So that's always been part of our upbringing with the kids, but it's so different, but it's the same in a lot of ways. Like I've got a lot of friends that raise animals for butcher and harvesting, things, and we kind of do the same thing. My sister reminded
We don't butcher or harvest ours.
we don't butcher or harvest our snakes, no, but
Not the snakes at least, but everything else.
like my sister has hogs and just all different kinds of meat animals. And I told her one time, I was like, yeah, I really miss like the homesteading, like the farming of animals. She's like, you still farm animals. They're just in like a 72-degree climate controlled room. And I was like, well, I guess like we raise them up and we want to give them the best life possible. We want to share it with others. And then we also, in a way, use it to help sustain our family, create an income. And as far as like educating the boys, it's huge. We did a video about it recently, and they learn so much from like geography, like we're teaching them about where they came from, and the different snakes that we have from other parts of the world, places that they want to go in the world to look for snakes. But also husbandry and caring for something else before yourself. Like if cages are dirty, we clean cages before we go out to a movie. We don't take care of fun things until we take care of work things first. And that's something that's, I think, really important. Kids that don't have pets growing up, or that don't have responsibilities of like, oh, it's freezing and there's a foot of snow out, but we have to go milk the goats. Like that's what you have to do. When you raise animals, you have to take care of them first. So I think that's been a really good lesson for them. But also even in I don't want to say economy, but like budgeting. Like they learn, oh, let's go place a rat order, and like you have to buy paper and you have to buy just
learning about small
supplies.
business.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, a bulb went out. You have to buy bulbs for your tegu, or just things like that. So I think it's important for them to learn that kind of responsibility.
Which one gave the biggest pushback when they were like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to start cleaning poop and doing the orders, or like,
Well, we've been
I have to help mom and dad take the snake eggs. I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah.
It's a fine balance of not saying like, well, this is what mom and dad chose, so that's your chore now. Like you want to keep it fun and you want to keep them engaged, but you don't want to be like, well, this
Make
is
them
your
hate
lot
it.
in life. Yeah. So that's been a balance over the years, and finding things that they love. Like they love the camera aspect. They love the camera, and like flying the drone. Like our middle son is so good at flying the drone, and I would like crash it. And anyways, they're really good at stuff like that, and they really enjoy. Like they all have their favorite snakes, and they'll ask when we're cleaning, like, "Oh, are you cleaning this one? Like, can I hold her or whatever?" And so I think it's just playing on their interests and not like forcing them to do the stuff that they're not into just yet, because they're still pretty young. The slave labor doesn't come
they're
till later.
definitely old enough and capable of like cleaning cages and stuff. But
Yeah.
like she said, we're just we just try and ride that line of like this is a responsibility that we have. Like you're gonna take part in it. We're gonna do this as a family. That's a big part of it too. It's not just like get in there and clean cages. It's like, hey, let's go as a family. You can hold a snake while we clean the cage, and there's and you can take pictures if you want, like there's just so much that the family can do together around this hobby that is it's great. Yeah. And as far as learning
Very
for
much like you,
homeschooling,
Kathy.
what's that?
I too once had a drone.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
I've definitely broken the legs on mine, and like it's not looking brand new anymore. But that's how you get the good shots, right? You gotta
I caught
use
a
it.
wind current off of the ceiling fan in my living room because I was chasing my youngest, and I forgot that we had the ceiling fan on, and it hit a current just right, and it sent it sideways into my wall,
Oh no.
and it broke all the sensors. So like I can't what's it called, calibrate all the wings to spin anymore. So only one spins, and it just like
Oh
it'll
no.
stay in one spot and just kind of spin in a circle now.
You can
So
get
I no
great
longer have a
sensor
drone,
shots.
but it was a lot of fun while I had it.
Oh man. See, teach your kids to fly it and you won't have those problems.
They'll probably be better at it. Or maybe just don't fly it inside.
Yeah. There's something to the like video game controller, that allows him to be better at it than me. Like I just don't. I think it's really cool what they can do, and I love having one. But putting a lot of effort into getting really good at it. Like, do you watch camera stuff at all?
I do. I watch
like Matty
Peter
Hapoya.
Buchanan.
Do you watch Matty Hapoya?
I've watched a few of his.
Yeah, he's like awesome at that FPV drone stuff, and that's something I'd really like to incorporate into what we're doing for sure. Is the FPV drones. So
Yeah, I went out and I got one of the little DJI Sparks
Mhm.
back when it was a Gen 1 because I
Mhm.
watched Cusco's videos, and I was like, oh, I love all the drone footage. I want to learn how to do that, and I never learned how to do it. And then like every time I was like, this would be the perfect place to do it. Like at the Pomona Super Show. Oh wait, you're by the airport, so they don't like when you pull it up, it says, oh, it's a no-fly zone.
Right.
You have to try to override it, and most of the time it doesn't work. But
Yeah, for sure.
they're fun, dude. Like I would love to get another one day, but it's got to be where like we have a bunch of acreage or something where the kids can just have at it, and I don't have to worry about trees or neighbors' houses, or because we got like I think it's like 10 feet in between houses, something
Oh
like
yeah.
that, like something crazy. There's like 3 or 4 feet in between each wall
You
to
could like lay
separate
down and
on
touch
the
the other
side.
house.
Yeah. You get like the neighbors with BB guns, like trying to take it out and stuff.
Yeah.
Throwing a nice symbol at you because you flew over their yard or something, you know.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
they're definitely fun. It's something I'd like to incorporate more one day.
Yeah.
What kind of pushed you into your YouTube? Like, obviously, you wanted to document what you guys were doing, but um, it seemed like you jumped into it really, really heavily right from the get go, right? Like you had really good equipment. You took the time to actually plan out videos, even though, oh, well, I know some of it's on the fly, right? But like you're able to still find ways to find what you're looking for to incorporate that story that you wanted. Like the one
Yeah.
you shot at Arlington, I really enjoyed because I remember our conversations and being like, "Hey, I'm kind of looking for this and I'm looking for that." And then I went back to our conversation while I was watching y'all's video for Arlington. I was like, he found it. Like he found a way to incorporate what he was looking for. Maybe not the exact way you wanted to, but you still found a way to do it, which I think is special. I think it takes a special eye to be able to do that too.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Actually, we started YouTube in the beginning, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I wanted to do it after I saw Brian Cusco's videos. I was like, man, I'd love to be able to do that too and have like a creative outlet because I didn't have any sort of like creative outlet and didn't know that I really needed it. But yeah, once I saw Brian's videos back like in the beginning, Brian Cusco's, I met him early on when we went to Carpet Fest and got to talk cameras with him a bit. And yeah, one of my buddies said, "I'm selling my Canon 80D. Do you want to buy it?" And I'm like, "If you bought it, I know it's good. So yeah, like I want to buy it." I didn't know what that meant or anything. And so we started making videos really early. Like I think there was a video from when we got our first retic, which it might not be on there now, but that's a long story. Yeah, and then I realized that I didn't want to make videos about genetics. Like I didn't want to make retic breeding videos or just talk about the genes all the time. I really wanted the content to be deeper than that. And I was also really hung up in the idea of involving our family because I was very adamant that I didn't want to put our kids on YouTube, like, or any social media at all. We didn't have a social media account until we got snakes. That was the only reason, and like the first time we had them. And so it took, I don't think we did put the kids on there. Anyways, we did a few videos, actually probably like 25 videos early on, and just stopped because there was no substance to it, in my opinion. And so I continued to take pictures, take video, just like for me and practice and whatever, and started learning like all things social media and started learning how to get better with my camera and do other things other than take pictures of animals and videos of animals, and learn how to like put together a story. Like by no means am I like really good at this, but I've done a lot of like learning to start putting that in place, and that's what you've seen over the last like 4 months. It was
I would say it's fair that you might not feel like you're very good at this, but I would say it's fair to say out of those in the industry, if you look at storytelling capability and filming capability and how you intertwine it together, because that's really the hardest thing. Like, let's be honest, we all say that we're doing vlogs when we shoot a video, but
right.
we're not doing vlogs. We're just saying, well, I guess you are.
I might just start
You're not
impromptu
telling a
vlogging
true
it.
story. You know what I mean? Like you guys
Yeah.
actually tell a story. We're just kind of like, hey, I bought a snake. I'm gonna show it off. Look at my snake. Or hey, I just hatched these genetics out. It's pretty awesome. Come buy them. But this is what I this is what I did. So, and in essence, it's kind of, I guess it's kind of a vlog because it's just a log, right? But it's not a story, which is where a lot of us miss it. Like I feel like I'm a horrible storyteller all the time. Like even with my kids, they'll be like, "Hey, Dad, make up a story," and I'll try to make like something weird up just so I catch their attention right before bed, and then they're like, "Okay, we can go to sleep now," and just to give them that time and let the giggles come out and something besides the horseplay because I do the horseplay. Like I learned from Brian, hey, like just let them get all that energy out and just roughhouse with them for like a solid 30 minutes before bed, and they're out like a light, and it's wonderful. But
see, when they get
Thank
older,
you, John.
when they get older, what you do is you have them wrestling. We had all 3 of our boys in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So then they're all wrestling with daddy until 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And mom's sitting on the couch going, "Can we go to bed now?" But of course,
wait,
now
that's
I
not
have.
a typical bedtime.
What's
I
that?
thought that was that's like a normal bedtime for all homeschooled kids, right?
Yeah, no, it
That's
is
the
for sure.
normal bedtime
I'm
at our
surprised that
house.
you know that, but yes,
Yeah.
you're right. It is.
Close to midnight.
We
for
do
most.
what we do what we want.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
We eat ice cream for breakfast, watch TV, play a little Minecraft before noon.
And there's always a lesson to be learned if you look hard enough. No, hey John, thank you so much for saying that about my camera work, man. It's something that I know. I feel that I know where I'm at. I'm like very I watch people that are really good all the time, and so I want to get that good. And so when I watch my stuff, I'm like, everybody's their worst critic, but the most important thing to me is that I'm like putting it out there, like I'm trying to show like the excitement that we have for the reptiles. So hopefully it's like exciting for other people. I'm not trying to get really deep on it, as far as
Stephen has been telling
Steven,
us that.
you're awesome. I'm not trying to get like really deep as far as like genetics go, like I mentioned before. I would love to eventually be able to like I want to have fun in them and have them be exciting, but I want to get to the point where I can like have people walk away from them like feeling something, like wow, that was awesome. I really want to go do something now, and not just I don't know. I don't want my content to be what was the word that I used a second ago? Like there's without substance, like, and so that's hard, but
And we
I don't know. I just love using the cameraman, and like we were talking about in the pregame show or whatever that was called, the backstage thing. I'm super introverted, man, like really, really introverted, and like we were saying, going to those shows is really draining. And but I push myself and I want to be around people. But what I'm getting at is having my camera is like what allows me to be able to go and be in those places for that amount of time and really have a good time, because there's something about it. I don't know. I think I really enjoy it.
It's almost like I would say therapeutic for them. Like when we started a YouTube channel, people we talked before the show about our personalities being a little bit different, and so for me, like shows, that's like my happy place. I'm like, oh, good, 10,000 strangers in a giant room. Like I'm gonna go make some friends. Who knows what we'll find? And Brian's like, I'll see you at halftime show. Just it's not really his scene, but a lot of see, I already lost my train of thought. It's just, so when we started the YouTube channel, if I told people like in our real life, like I'm starting a YouTube channel, they'd be like, yeah, that's about right. Like I could see that, but when I would tell people like, yeah, Brian's starting a YouTube channel, they're like, your husband? I'm like, yes. And they're like, what's he going to talk about? Because people in our life, like people that know us in our real world would like, they don't know Brian until they watch our YouTube videos, and they're like, wow, your husband like comes alive. And my mom has known him for 19 years. And she's like, Brian just comes to life when he's on camera, and like when he's storytelling something that he's passionate about. You're gonna start blushing. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. I
Just
saw those comments come in, guys. Thank you so much. We love you guys so much. There's such an awesome community of people out there. Like that is the next step for our YouTube channel, is starting to nurture that more and watching that take shape, because I've seen other people doing it, like Garrett and Cusco, and I can't wait to, have, probably the same people, or like have another community of people through the Reptile Revival channel that we can do get-togethers with when we're in town and these different places, and like go out herping with people, and like just connect. This hobby makes the world so small, like you see people all over the world that we're talking to and connecting with, that it's just great. And when you meet them, it's like you've known them for a long time.
Mhm.
Where'd the name Reptile Revival come from? What was the inspiration behind it?
That's all, Brian.
She says that like I really remember, and it was like a big thing. But you might as well tell the story since you remember so well. I mean, I know what it means to me, but
No, I just meant that it was all you that you
Okay.
like came up.
Anyway,
with.
so
It's
it started as like a new start into reptiles for our family, like for us, because we had left it and we were reviving it, right? But then I quickly realized that it meant something else, and I think that just bringing people together, like through the admiration of these animals, which are God's creatures, is such a like pure and awesome way to connect people. And so that's really what it means to me, is like it's
Okay.
all of us coming together, like
What's how do you kind of deal with those that are like, well, especially with the background of faith, right? Like, I know this is one of the things that I have to talk with my family members about, because the serpent is never looked at. While it's one of God's creatures, the serpent is never looked at in a point of light, right?
right.
At minus once, I believe. I believe there's one time in the Bible where the serpent's looked at in a positive.
wise as
connotation.
serpents.
And I can't say yes or no on that. I'm not gonna lie, my scripture knowledge is not as sharp as it used to be. But
Okay. Yeah. As far as that goes, I mean, they're God's creatures. He created them. Satan took form as a snake. He wasn't a snake. Like he's not a snake. That's like they're misunderstood because of generations of like scary stories and fear being placed into their kids. And I think that's why kids are interested in them, like when they're young, because they're like, ooh, my parents think this is, or like there's just that natural draw to like, it's just another creature and it's different, right? And all creatures should be loved equally. And yeah, it's just
like,
awesome.
don't get me wrong, I love looking in my dog's eyes, because you see that love and admiration back, right? But I get lost in serpent's eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like, especially my retic, I just stare at her, and like we just stare at each other for a solid hour when I get her out, and we give her exercise time, and we do all that, right? And it's just like, it's almost like well, it's not almost like, it is like you're trying to put your own thoughts in there and try to figure out what they're thinking almost.
Right.
And I forget what the terminology is for it, but
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like personification, like
Yeah.
putting like human attributes to it.
yeah. And it's just
Yeah,
like,
I think that's
well,
what
do you
happened.
like me, or is it just am I your safety net right now? Am I the only person you feel safe with?
You're warm.
Yeah, I'm warm.
Yeah.
What's the dog guy? Phoenix or
I don't know.
So
Venom guy?
Kale.
Yeah, we were just talking to Kale about that at Phoenix Herp Sanctuary a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about some of the misnomers about reptiles, and that people try to treat reptiles like mammals, and it doesn't work like that because they're different. But they like the things of like thinking that baby rattlesnakes are more dangerous than adult rattlesnakes or whatever, because you think a baby mammal doesn't know how to act like an adult, but that baby reptiles are just as capable as adults. Like they're hardwired from the minute they're born or hatched. Like they are fully capable of all their senses, you know. But you think of like a helpless little panda bear or something, and it. Sorry,
It's weird.
I get off on rabbit trails.
Oh, you're good. I think that's a great one because a lot of people don't know that. Well, I mean, hopefully within the reptile world they know, but a lot of people don't know that baby rattlesnakes actually stay with their mom through their first shed until they develop their button.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
It's like so there. A lot of people like to say like there's no cognitive actual behavior with reptiles, but tell me why a mother rattlesnake will take care of their babies and protect them until they're able to at least ward off a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the fact that instinct's there speaks of some form of intelligence, whether you can put it as cognitive reasoning or whatever it is. But
yeah.
Try taking a clutch of eggs from a mama retic and tell me there's no protective nurturing that goes on there.
I'm not looking forward to that day. I am.
Oh, it'll be.
I am. I very much so am, because I want to give my retic one full life cycle experience and make sure that I could say, okay, because I got her essentially right out of the egg. She had one meal and went to a pet shop, and I bought her from the pet shop, and I like once I picked her up, she wasn't eating again. Like the pet shop never got her to eat in the month and a half that they had her.
Oh wow.
And I got her before she passed away, and I had to nurture her, and so now she's a big grown mainland retic, and like I don't want to do it, but I want to do it one time just to say that one, I bred retic successfully, and two, she lived a full life cycle.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, in my limited experience,
I've watched way too many retic egg pullings. It scares the bejesus out of me.
Well, in my limited experience, if you have a good relationship with them, like they seem to be totally cool. Even Cleopatra, our big Solaire tiger girl, she's one you want to kind of look at out of the corner of your eye all the time, you know? She's totally sweet until you like give her a chance, you know? Right. And she was totally fine when we pulled her eggs, but yeah, it'll be fine.
She's like how do I want to? What animal do I want to compare this to? Like a monkey,
right?
Super sweet 1 second, and then just going full bananas this next.
I'm not a fan of monkeys.
You can't trust them. You got to watch them from the corner of your eye.
Yeah, these people getting all close to them, taking pictures. It's like, man, does anybody remember when that pet monkey attacked that lady? And you remember, like she attacked her friend. So this lady had a pet monkey, and it attacked her friend, and like it was all over the news for like months.
Yeah,
but they're terrible.
Like major plastic surgery, right?
That's probably why I didn't hear about it, because I don't watch that. I'll go around and I'll pick out like the major stories from articles, but I don't.
Yeah,
I don't watch news.
When we were in Costa Rica, they told us at this national park we went to, like beware of the monkeys, like they're not to be messed with, and don't try to challenge them, don't like smile at them, don't show your teeth, all this stuff. But then it's like a self-guided tour, so you're like on this giant trail. I mean, you're just like wandering, you know, through this jungle.
Brian's in trouble, guaranteed. Like Brian gets in nature and just smile. Well, I guess you're both in trouble because you're just gonna look at each other and smile.
Brian snatched a venomous snake out of the treetops while we were on a zip line on our honeymoon. So we're at the platform, like, you know, 100 feet off the ground, and the locals are like freaking out. And here he is. I mean, he had gloves on.
It was like a brown vine snake. It wasn't a poison. Did you say poison?
No, I said venomous.
Okay, I hope you didn't. But anyways, it was a
And
fun
if it's
time.
not, that's going to be the clip from this episode.
Oh no.
Getting it right.
No, go back and check Venomous. It was rear fang, but still. He held a couple cat-eyed snakes. We found an eyelash viper.
Anyway,
It was cool. But the monkeys, people are walking on the road, and all of a sudden you hear like a rustling in the distance, and then there's like 30 of them right on the path, like right next to you. They're so fast, and they show up like silently. You hear them from far away, and then all of a sudden there's like all these little faces in the trees right by you. And the brilliant, other American tourists are like flashing their cameras and like get a picture of me next to him. And you're like, maybe we put our camera on because you're going to get a video of some guy getting mauled. I'm not a fan. I was there for the snakes, not the monkeys. Mandalorian monkeys. Crazy. Not a fan. Anyways.
So with all the traveling that you guys have been able to do and seeing the different places, working with different shops, what's your favorite show that you've been able to participate in so far? And what's like your favorite shop out of all the places you've been able to visit so far?
So we've only been to 2 of the shows. We've only been to Arlington and Pomona. And of those 2, I enjoyed Pomona the most, I think. I don't know what it was about it, but I liked them both. There was I don't know. There was great things about both of them, but I liked Pomona. Huh?
It's a very different atmosphere.
Yeah. But as far as the I don't know. I don't want to say as far as the people go, because I don't really mean it in that way. I mean, as far as the opportunity.
You can say you don't like us Texans. It's okay.
No. As far as the opportunity to be able to film cool stuff, there was a lot of cool stuff at Arlington to film. And we really enjoyed spending time with Earl Jones while we were there. And so that leads me to the favorite shop, and that was the DFW Reptarium. That place is so cool, man. If you guys haven't been there, you got to check it out.
How many times I've gone to Arlington, I've never made it there.
Oh, really? Yeah, you have to go check it out. They have a pair of.
Every time I go up there, I kind of overpack my days, and I have never been able to step away. Most of the time, if my wife can get me to eat something from the concession stand before the auction, it's a good day on a Saturday. Because I'll just keep walking and I won't think about it. I'll drink 1 bottle of water throughout the entire day and not think, and just be bouncing back and forth. But
that's him. We just do coffee all day long. And then at 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, have you eaten anything today? Today?
Coffee.
That's it.
That's how you stay so skinny.
Yeah.
So we gotta.
But there's a really quick before you say that. There's a video that we did of that DFW Reptarium. If anybody wants to check it out, they have a pair of Bell's Phase lace monitors there, and a pair of Croc monitors. The lace monitors and the Argus monitor enclosures are huge. They're 12 by 12 or something like that. Yeah,
huge.
Really cool. And
there's Croc monitors in the front window of a strip mall. You're walking by there. It was very cool.
Yeah. So
the husbandry, just the enclosures are top notch.
You're gonna have to check it.
His coffee. I've seen it.
I might have to make you force me to go with you. Your guys' next trip over there.
Yeah, man.
I won't read it.
That would be awesome.
We'll get food on the way because I like to eat. That was one thing.
Probably the only way you're gonna get me to.
He would forget to feed me while we were dating. We'd go out, hang out mid-morning
all day long.
It would be 3 p.m, and I'd be like, are you hungry? He's like, no, why are you? I'm like, yes, I'm starving. We haven't eaten all day. He's like, oh, I forgot that's a thing.
I'm into let's just go do things.
Yeah.
Food is can't you eat on the go if you have to eat?
Yeah. It's just fuel to keep your body going. And I'm I'm not a foodie. I'm not a critic or anything like that. There's people that are snooty about it. Live. I just like to live. Yeah. if pizza's on the menu, that may or may not be my new favorite place. I don't know.
So what about you, Kathy? What would you say your favorites have been so far?
I think my favorite show, I think, might have been Pomona as well. They had done a big news show, like a big news live right before we got there. And to me, the audiences seemed a little different. Like the people at Pomona, just a lot of the people coming through seemed to be like people who had never been around any of it before. They were just like people that were like, oh, this thing's in town. Let's go check it out on a Saturday morning. So there were people like asking questions, like you could just hear them in the background.
Yeah,
like, what's that? What's,
that is
and you're
true.
like not like being critical, like, don't they know anything? Not like that, but like, wow, they've never seen, like, they don't know the difference between a turtle and a tortoise, or like they were wondering why that spider's in that box, or, you know, and it was really cool to hear the fascination that people were just like, look at that snake, it's white, isn't that incredible?
It was
And
very much like we're in LA, like what is there to do?
Yeah.
You know, so there were a lot, and which is awesome,
like,
man.
let's go check out the beach in a while, but first let's go do the reptile show. It was just like,
Yeah.
like first encounter for a lot of the people that were there. Whereas Arlington seemed a lot more like the professionals, or like the people that,
Reptile people.
yeah, like they hit all the shows, and it was like more of the seasoned, even like the families with the kids that were there. I mean, there was a lot of hype around Snake Discovery, which was really cool to see, because you had a lot of kids in there. There were so many people.
Brian, I'm not going to say anything bad.
You tell me
Brian
how
knows
many
my
of those
feelings.
people would have
Well,
said,
they were originally right behind me, right? So like,
oh,
I couldn't get out of my booth. I couldn't bring customers to my booth. I couldn't do anything at first. And then they moved them to the center, and then I was like, well, now everyone's just packed on the other side.
oh.
So that's why we had such a good conversation, though, because Brian was able to walk around wherever he wanted, and was like, yeah, hey, how you doing? I remember your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I liked the Pomona show. It was neat to see so many people that were like first timers to the industry, which was neat to see. And then my favorite facility. What's that?
You think that's something that's lost sometimes, though, with like, especially with like the NARBC shows? While I love them, and I will always love them, because it's so much more focused as breeders, and on breeders going to look for their next stuff. Maybe we forget to look at it kind of like in the light that you were able to perceive it on, right? Is like their wonder and excitement for everything versus just, hey, do you want this ball python or not, or do you want this corn snake or not, or do you want this king snake or not, or do you want this retic or not? Sometimes people start perceiving more as, okay, well, I have to make the sale, versus, well, hey, we have to keep that wonder in the people and everyone that's just coming in.
I don't know. That's a good point. Yeah, I've been to one of each. I've been to the one Pomona show and one Arlington, and that was my whole experience for those. What was really interesting was that we, in our previous life of software sales for 10 years, I did a lot of the trade shows, and so I was in a booth selling software for higher education, which was so different to be in an industry like where I am so excited to be around the people, and the content that was presented there was amazing. It was really fun to be in a giant expo center that wasn't as stuffy, and like just the professional aspect of it, as like
you can imagine, right? A higher education trade show. It's like the last place
you didn't see it, and it's definitely not because you're boring me. I'm just exhausted right now.
That no one is having fun there except for like.
That sounds like pull your hair out one hair at a time.
Yeah.
So Brian used to stay home for those, and I would go to those shows.
I did go to a few, but I made my appearance, you know.
One thing that was really cool is we had one that we did every a couple times a year down in Orlando. And so we were at a conference, and we had a break for lunch, and so we're all standing outside getting fresh air, and there was like a little concrete planter behind us, and of course Brian finds a lizard. Like he found like a little gecko in it, so he's in like his polo, I'm in like some business suit, and I've got a picture of him holding like this little gecko that
Chasing little geckos
yeah,
around.
that was like the highlight of our trip. It was awesome.
No one understood that there.
And we went to Gatorland too when we were there. That was the first time we went to Gatorland. We're like,
Yeah.
we're going to
We've
see
been-
reptile stuff here. So it was that was really cool, even early on. That was probably 8 years ago.
We've
6
been
years
super
ago.
blessed as far as that goes for to have opportunity to travel with our jobs. You know, like our previous job, like she said, it put us in Orlando. It was like not really when we were doing much filming, but we did do like a Gatorland video, you know, and but yeah, we're not just like rolling in cash to be able to like have vacation all the time. We're like anywhere we go, we're working, you know. So
Wait, you're saying with your 2,000 subs, you are not
that,
a multi-million
hopefully no one thinks that that's the
YouTuber
reason.
sensation yet?
Yeah. We're just rolling in the subs.
No, I
Subs
feel-
don't matter anymore though. Didn't you hear that? Views matter now. That's all that matters. Did you know that also that if somebody is subscribed to your YouTube channel, let me start over. If somebody is subscribed to your YouTube channel, they are somewhat more likely to see your content.
somewhat.
Yeah.
But probably not because they don't click that bell.
No, like to
But-
get notifications, like somewhat more likely to be notified of your content.
I don't know about all that, but that was the quote.
People turn
Somewhat
on
more
the
likely to
camera.
see your content. Because it's like buried in between the other stuff. I don't know. Who knows? But
I don't know.
you're not getting rich doing, you know, content creation unless you put years of work into it and you get good.
100%. 100%.
And you get a really cool drone. So
Yeah, all the
Okay.
equipment that you buy will not make the subs come, I guess. I don't know.
100%. What shop? I'm sorry. I broke your speech, Kathy.
Yeah. Sorry.
What shop would you say is your favorite? I kind
I
of
like
interrupted.
Rattlesnake
you.
Ranch.
Oh,
What was it about?
man.
I can't believe you. I thought you were going to say that. Cody and his
I was
wife,
looking at
Kate.
all those videos and it yeah. What's going on, man? I see you out there.
We went to Rattlesnake Ranch in Arizona, and it was so unbelievable. It was like it was everything that one would hope to see from someone's like high end, did everything top notch. It was
Yeah.
incredible.
I don't know why that place, that DFW Reptarium, is awesome. I love it. I was thinking like, yeah, I was
Like
thinking
open to the public facility.
yeah, but we've
Yeah.
been to some really great places like that. The Rattlesnake Ranch AZ is what they go by. If you guys are into venomous stuff, rattlesnakes, they are top notch, brand new. I mean, the facility's been open for 2 years now, I think, but they're now just open to the public by appointment, and it's well worth going to visit with Cody and his family because he has insane stuff there.
That's the one you guys just documented on, right?
Yeah. We also did. We also stopped at Jerry Fife's place. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he has Galapagos and Aldabras, and he does Chuckawallas and other stuff. We're gonna put out a video here pretty soon from there, and that was, man, being around those giant tortoises is just, it's a whole experience of its own. Those things seem to have some like deep knowledge or something. You know?
You're talking into like staring into a reptile's eyes. Like it's pretty crazy. They're like, they just look like old souls. No wonder like cartoons use them as like the old ninja, like Kung Fu Panda. Like they just are the Mr. Miyagi looking. Like,
Yeah.
Like they know all the secrets. It's
Like I'm calm, but I might just bite you in the throat.
Yeah. Or step on you with my 500-pound body. Like
Yeah.
those things are, yeah, they're gentle, but man, you don't want to get stepped on by them.
So
So
think
with the breeding aspect, how many do you guys plan on doing yearly, or how many do you kind of even try to attempt to see if they're going to cycle through at this point?
Yes.
so.
Whatever happens,
I think
happens.
I think that's my cue. So we bought all of our retics. Well, we bought almost all of our retics as hatchlings. And so for the last 5 years, we've been growing them up. The oldest one that we had when we bought it was 3.5, and that was Eve, our pure Coyote that we found out is het anery. And so we are just now coming to the point where our females are cycling and are of age, and we're going to be super selective about what we breed.
Love that.
Yeah, as far as the number goes, I don't know, 5 clutches a year, and very specific reasons for those clutches. Right now we have a clutch in our incubator here. That's from that snake Eve, who's the pure Coyote het anery, to Nomad, which is the pure super dwarf that Kathy was just holding. So that we have 32 eggs in our incubator from that one. We have 2 clutches at Garrett's. I didn't dive into that, but I will in a second. Anyways, we have some animals there. We have 2 clutches that are super, super exciting there. One of them could hatch right now. It's a normal. She's double het Indo caramel snow, so Indo and anery, and we bred her to our Motley Snow male. So we should have possibly have some orange glow snow stuff, which would be insane. And then we have a pure Kalatoa clutch that is about a month behind that. And that is a big, big deal because the male that bred to our TK Kalatoa is, if you guys are familiar, the Reach Dreams male. So huge. Like that's really big for us.
You're the ones that kind of worked with Garrett on that project then. Because I was always wondering, like, I know he had always talked about it, and I know we kind of brought that up in our interview. I think it was like the middle of last year or something like that, where he was gonna look to really push that for Lars and Dez and like really help build stuff up.
Well, this is the first time we've done anything with it. In fact, he called me and said that she was gravid, and I was like, "Who'd you breed her to?" And he's like, "The Reach Dreams male." I'm like, "You are kidding me? Are you serious?" So I don't know that we'll be able to sell a single animal from that clutch, but it's a big deal because that is a new bloodline, absolutely stellar male, and our female is she's a pure TK, like I said, that's just awesome looking too. So yeah, we're really we really like the pure stuff. That's what gets, I don't know, that's what does it for me. But the morph stuff is more like on the business side, you know. I love all of our animals. I want to like make that very clear. And but it is, you know, part of what we do is breeding animals responsibly. So yeah, the pures, I can't, I wanted to touch on that. So we have, I think, 9 retics at Garrett's, and that was a pretty big number to decide to bring over there. Last winter, Kathy and her mom actually drove all the way across from the Northwest to Pennsylvania without a single incident of anything happening. All of those snakes, all of the cages, and delivered them to Reach Out Reptiles. And so they've been there for 6 months now, doing very well. And so that's what I'm referring to as a couple females there that are expecting. But I think it's very possible in the next month I'm going to be going to pick them up again. So
how stressful is that? Like not saying like
my mom and I loading up 10 retics and cages and driving them for 41 hours across the country. My biggest fear, honestly.
So it wasn't stressful at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
And yeah,
Go ahead.
nothing.
So the plan was for Brian and I to go, and Grandma to stay with the kids. And our youngest son was actually in the hospital the day before we were supposed to leave. Like, we had already picked up the rental van and driven it 2.5 hours to our house. And like we were talking about in the pre-show, when your child begs for daddy and is just inconsolable, the only human that my youngest wanted when he got out of the hospital
Kid
was,
is like really, really sick.
yeah, he was really sick. And so we're like, do we call the whole thing off? Like, what do we, like, do we just go take the van back? This was our only window. It was early October. We were about to lose it for the whole season. And yeah, and so our youngest just wanted daddy. And so at the very end, I was like, hey, Mom, what do you think about hopping in the car with me and driving to Pittsburgh? And she was like, okay, let's do it. So we like packed them all up and drove. And of course, if it was Brian and I, we could have like stopped at a hotel or whatever. But my thought was like, you don't want to leave them in there more than they were all in tubs and bags, for more than 48 hours. And we kept checking on them and making sure everyone's clean and dry and all that. But I knew that we were going to be pushing that threshold. So if we like stopped for a hotel, my mom and I were going to be hauling these 10 retics into a hotel room, possibly bathing them in the bathtub. I don't know, making sure they're all clean. So every time we'd like get close to a major city, I'm like, just keep going, keep going. So we were like sleeping in the back of this rental van and the other was driving. And
they're hardcore women, let me tell you.
I was raised by a single mom, and she's about as tenacious as they come. So she's been in some of our videos too. She loves the reptiles. And she was actually down in Phoenix a couple months ago, and she was like, do you want me to film stuff for you? And we were like, yes. So she went to a reptile shop and filmed a bunch of stuff, and like went and interviewed someone with my 25-year-old brother and his cell phone. And it was pretty cool. She's sending us footage, like, just got these interviews. It was amazing. So yeah, my mom's incredible. She's very supportive of what we do. And because it's us, not because she's a natural born lover of reptiles. But she did watch the 120 that we had while we went on our honeymoon. We kept her at the house and she was responsible for them, and she did fine. And yeah, she's like, oh, okay, it's my children, I guess I'll do it. So yeah, so that was our trip across country, and they were fine, and everyone arrived, healthy and cared for. And we drove in, and I basically handed Garrett the keys, and him and Rob and Joe, they just unloaded everything, and everyone was alive and well. And the next day, my mom and I got on the plane and came home.
Crazy. Totally crazy. And we're possibly, we're coordinating that again. So
to do the return trip.
We'll see what happens. But I was super thankful to have that happen. Obviously we really trust Garrett and the guys over there, and we had no intention of selling our animals, but we needed to do some things to kind of retool, like create this studio, which might become a snake room again. But like, get some things reorganized before we could press on. And so mission accomplished there. It's
good opportunity for some breeding projects.
Yeah. And we were able to get our like 32 videos out, something like that. And so we got the ball rolling on the content creation. And I don't know what involvement, if any, like the breeding side of our snakes will have in our channel. Hopefully we can just continue to travel and have and share content in that way. Obviously we'll do stuff with snakes here like we have been doing, but I really want to keep away from like just genetic stuff. Not that I don't love that, but I think that that's not the audience that I'm looking for. I want to have families that are interested in reptiles as anybody obviously, but like specifically we're targeting families or people that want to watch a family that's not dysfunctional. I guess because we are who we are.
So for those that have enjoyed this teaser, I have a tenacious little 4-year-old that needs to be put down before mom gets a little overworked up.
It's all good.
How do we reach out to you and get to know more about you?
So we are the Reptile Revival on Instagram, and we are Reptile Revival everywhere else on YouTube and TikTok. Our focus is really heavily on YouTube right now, and that's where our love of video is kind of headed, so we can do long form videos on there. So that would be the best place if anybody wants to follow us on our journey. That would be the place.
Well,
Am I missing something? I think that's it. Yeah, we're on Facebook too. We don't really do a lot on there, but follow us on Facebook. Send me a friend request if you're not already friends with me. I really like to learn the personal side of all of our followers, and like I just want to, I want to develop that community. So
I hope that someone got something out of this, whether it's just seeing, hey, look at things from a different point of view sometimes, like Kathy was talking about earlier, just how it's okay to not. I made the joke about how they're kind of polar opposites with their personality, but they're really not. Like Brian's bubbly, he just hides it very well.
He's just very selective who he shares his bubbles with.
I've shared my bubbles with you, John.
That's a good thing. So I hope you all enjoyed our time with Brian and Kathy tonight. I'm sorry we didn't dive more into. There's definitely more I would like to talk about. We did what this podcast was meant for, though, and that's actually getting to know them versus just talking reptiles. Because while we all love reptiles and they consume such a large portion of our life, sometimes it's important to put focus back on the people behind the brand. So I enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know I look forward to seeing Brian and Kathy in person again soon, hopefully sooner than later.
We appreciate you, John.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Thank you. And you did get our name right. It's Farrelly.
Farrelly.
I was just laughing because nobody knows what to do with it when they see it. So
like Chris Farrelly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
I don't even know who next week is, to be honest, so I'm not even going to promote next weekend. So I hope you guys tune in next week.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. All right. You guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all stay blessed.